in the Russell Rotunda, where Senator Roger Wicker is joining us, a Republican in Mississippi and the new chair of the National Republican Senatorial Committee. Thank you, sir, for your time.
Glad to be with you. Thank you.
Let's begin with the economy that dominated the speech last night. A new NBC Wall Street poll shows that 45% of Americans are satisfied with the American economy, and that's the highest share in 11 years. Does the president deserve credit for that?
Well, I think it's the energy boom, which the president has come to kicking and screaming, that has largely contributed to a boost in the economy. And also this free and open internet that the president now wants to regulate has been another real key part of that. So to me, there was an irony that the two things that have given us what little growth we have, he wants to change.
What are the Republicans' plans for middle-class Americans?
Well, I do think there's an opportunity for tax reform, and this is something that divided government has accomplished in the past. Big things like Ronald Reagan did after the 1986 election, when there was a Democratic Senate all of a sudden, and he was able to get through major tax reform. So we're interested in reducing loopholes and in making the tax system more job-friendly and simpler for Americans. I do think, though, the president is missing the mark when he says we can raise taxes somehow on job creators and end up with more jobs. I just think that's never been proven to be true. So let's sit down and work together. We now have a Democratic administration, a Republican House, and a Republican Senate. Maybe a good time for us to really sit down, roll up our sleeves, work with the new chairman of the Finance Committee, Senator Hatch, and simplify the tax code to create a better job environment here in the United States.
Senator, how did you view the tone of last night's speech?
You know, I don't care for the dueling ovations type of approach that we've come to in recent State of the Union addresses. And it seemed almost at times that the president was encouraging first one side or the other to stand and applaud. I'd rather sit there and listen to the president's ideas and let the American people judge. So I was not a fan of the style last night, to be honest.
As chair of the National Republican Senatorial Committee, 2016 seems to be, or feels like it's around the corner, even though we just finished one election. How will Republicans talk about middle-class Americans, low-income Americans, and the economy leading up to that election?
Well, I do feel very good about our chances to retain and build on our Senate majority in 2016. You know, we have the majority for the first time in 8 years, so I feel pretty good about that. I think we will be judged on how we perform. I do think the American people want accomplishments. They want to see legislation, and they will see the Senate go back to the traditional role of taking up legislation, working on it all week, taking amendments, hearing from first one side and then the other, and disposing of those amendments. I think we will end up with a lot more legislation on the president's desk. Now, while talking about working together a lot, he also used the veto word quite forcefully. So we'll see if we can send things to the president that he will sign. I think there's an opportunity to build more highways. The president said he wants to do that. He certainly has an ally in me when he wants to commit more money to disease research. And I think you noticed that the president's call for free trade as a job creation measure, because 95% of the world's customers are outside our borders. It received a lot more encouragement from the Republican side last night than the Democratic side. So I think if we can come up with some accomplishments like that, and then take our Senate races state by state with the quality of the incumbents that we have up in 2016, I actually feel pretty good about our chances to build on that majority.
And what about the president's call for Congress to give him new authorization to fight ISIS? Are you a yes vote for that, and why?
Well, I think it's a debate that we really should have had back last fall. I expected us to have it in December, and so I certainly would like to see the president lead a more aggressive effort to arm our friends and allies in the region. We're not going to beat ISIS to defeat this threat to world security without boots on the ground. I would hope they are boots on the ground from countries in the region there. But we've been very slow to help with a real sustained group of airstrikes, and in addition, the people that we want to succeed are going to need American assistance, and I would just like to see a little more resolve from the president on that. We're going to be hearing from generals and from leading defense officials from the administration. I'm on that committee, the Senate Armed Services Committee, and I want us to be successful, not as Democrats and Republicans, but as Americans in defeating ISIS. It's going to take a more serious and determined effort than we've seen out of this president so far.
And what do you make, sir, of this headline that's on many of the front papers this morning? This is the Washington Post. Rebels assault key sites in Yemen. What's going on there, and what does that mean for this country's fight against terrorism?
You know, Yemen is a country that the president pointed to with pride last year as a success of this administration. It seemed at the time to be a very strange statement on the part of the administration, and we see today that in fact the foundations were crumbling there all along. It's troublesome, but I think it also points up a lack of reality on the part of the administration, that they would think they had a success there when in fact things were going so poorly. This is going to happen in other countries and in other regions, and we might as well get ready for it. We are not as well equipped as a national defense posture as we need to be.
What needs to happen?
Well, okay, we need to avoid sequestration that is in the law and coming down the pike unless we change it. But we need to make, as I said, we need to arm our friends. We need to make sure that they are as equipped as they can possibly be to carry the fight to the ISIS people so American troops don't have to.
All right, Senator Roger Wicker, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for talking to us.
Well, thanks for the opportunity.